Hi everybody, this is the Cricket Badger podcast.
Each badger marks the track with its own scent.
His black legs are short but very powerful for digging. The name badger probably comes from the French word bêcher, meaning digger.
And as the music fades away, hello everybody, welcome along. It's another edition of the Cricket Badger podcast. I am James, as always, on the Cricket Badger podcast, and I'm going to bring them on. And my guest today, it's a No Boundaries Cricket Club special. There in the middle of the screen is Chris Marshall, who is the founder. Do we call you the founder of No Boundaries Cricket Club?
Founder.
Oh, you've got all Norman Collier on me. You've gone all crackly, Chris. That's.
I moved. I made a mistake. A rookie error move.
You were fine when we were talking beforehand, but you've gone all weird on us now. I'll bring Jake in whilst you fiddle around with your gadgetry. Jake Burton, who is from Runs4Research. Hello, Jake. Welcome to the podcast.
Good evening, James. Thanks for having me on.
And you are, Runs4Research, Alzheimer's, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about the background to that.
Yeah, so at the back end of 2020, I unfortunately lost my grandfather, big cricket fan, big club cricket player. And then over that period, I kind of looked at kind of trying to find ways to kind of raise awareness. At the end of his life, he did suffer with Alzheimer's. So it kind of made sense to go down that route. And then again, with my own love of cricket, my family's love of cricket, it was okay, we'll come up with an initiative to kind of combine the two together. So Runs4Research was born initially as a very small kind of fundraising project, I suppose, to call it that, with trying to get maybe 100 people to maybe raise £1,000. And we're into year 3 now, and we've vastly exceeded those expectations.
Well, my relationship with Alzheimer's, Chris kindly asked me to be an ambassador of No Boundaries Cricket Club, and one of the things in the conversation was name a charity, and my charity is Alzheimer's, because like you, my family's been affected by Alzheimer's. My grandma was the person that took me down to Kent when I first went down when I was about 7 or 8 years old. My mum's side of the family is from Kent, and I got taken down there with my grandma, and it was for a week, and it wasn't anything to do with cricket when we first went down, but I got down there. My great uncle Reg was a Kent member. His son John was a Kent member, and they used to go together. And on the Sunday after the Saturday when we arrived, my uncle Reg wasn't feeling very well. John turned up to take him to the cricket, and he didn't fancy going. And they looked at me, and as a young sort of 7 or 8 year old, and said, "Is he going to be okay going to the cricket? Can he go?" And I sat there completely emotionless and intrigued by cricket from the start. And then I think for the next 10 years, my grandma and I went down for an annual holiday in August to watch the Canterbury Cricket Week. And sadly, the last 10 years of her life were completely blighted by Alzheimer's. She disappeared into being a child, basically, and ended up living with my auntie down in Cornwall, and then in a rest home towards the end of it. But it's a horrible, horrible illness, Jake, isn't it? You kind of just lose the person.
Yes, yeah, I think it's impacts so many people, and as you say, it's you feel as if those people have kind of gone for your way before they have done. Yeah. And obviously with the impact that we had, obviously with COVID playing a part as well in that particular year, it kind of felt like we didn't give him the send off that he probably deserved. And therefore, kind of me coming up with this solution / initiative was kind of a bit of a feedback off the back of that, I suppose, as well.
Last thing to you, Jake, before I bring Chris back in, is I spoke to somebody actually the other day. We were talking about dementia and Alzheimer's and what have you, and they said that their mum had died, and I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry," and it was quite recent, and they said, yeah, but I kind of got my head around it almost, because they died as a human being probably 8 years before or something like that. And it's like that, isn't it, a little bit, because you've lost the person, you've kind of resigned yourself to the fact that they're already gone, despite the fact they're actually still breathing. And when they die, it's no surprise really, but it's still sad, but it's no surprise.
100%. I will always will kind of agree with that, because we lost him sometime before he passed away. We have to remember the times before that, I suppose.
Absolutely. And like with my grandma, plenty of fantastic memories of her. There was a moment actually where I went down to the nursing home. We got told that she was on her way out, and we were all kind of family had congregated at this nursing home to effectively say goodbye to her. And for some reason, my mum and the rest of the family had gone to the back of the room, and I was sat next to the bedside of my grandma, and she just looked up for a split second, and she was there, literally with teddy bears around her, and in a nappy. I mean, really undignified way to go. But she just looked at me for about probably half a second. She looked up, came back into the current, said James, and then just disappeared again. And my mum said, "Are you going to come back tomorrow to see her?" And I said, "No. That's enough for me." She's kind of seen me, recognise me, even if it was just for that split second. And then she's that was enough for me to say goodbye to her. But yeah, that horrible illness. Chris, could you unmute yourself, please? And I'll try and bring you back in and see if you're working properly. Chris? This isn't going very well with Chris, is it, at the moment? Chris is completely oblivious to the fact we're talking by the looks of it. We'll stay with you then, Jake. seeing as we're live with this. I mean, the No Boundaries Cricket Club is something which Chris has set up, and as I say, I'm very happy to be an ambassador for. To try and basically use cricket as a means to do good things, involve people, do good stuff, raise money where possible. And we had an episode about a month ago where we talked about scoring and how scoring isn't just a professional part of cricket, but you can sit there with your scorebook at a club or in the stands at a county game, and that's a way into cricket, whoever you are. But yeah, this the Cricket Coffee Cup. Cricket Coffee Co, by the way, are associated with the Cricket Badger podcast, as well as No Boundaries Cricket Club. And 10% off if you quote Badger. Go on Cricket Coffee Co and basically pick your coffee, put Badger in the code, and you get 10% off your order. But they're associated with this as well, Jake, and we're getting them clubs together to play in this Cricket Coffee Cup.
Yeah. I'm Chris asked me to play kind of a couple of months ago, and again is kind of a way of raising awareness for obviously the work that Chris is doing for my own cause, but also just to be able to kind of play with some like-minded people, I suppose. So yeah, that's taking place at the end of May, up in Yorkshire. So again, for myself, it's nice to kind of visit a different part of the world and play some cricket as well.
29th of May, that isn't it, I think?
Correct.
Yeah, so that's getting people together, and we're going to try and raise some money for Alzheimer's as well along the way, which is obviously a charity dear to both of our hearts as well now. Chris has basically just messaged me to say he's got no sound, and he's obviously got no microphone either, so he's completely a sleeping partner in this podcast as things stand. I mean, what are your hopes for Runs4Research then? What is, you obviously explained why you set it up to start with, but where is it taking you? Where ideally you're going to be going with that?
Well, I think, as I say, year one, the goal was always £1,000 and 100 people involved, which we smashed through that in year one. We raised just short of £6,000 with more than 250 people involved. Again, after year one, you think you're blown away by the support. Year two, we had 533 club cricketers involved.
Wow.
Raised just over £11,000. So again, we've kind of doubled from year one to year two. I genuinely don't know where the kind of the ceiling is on this. To me, it's such a simple concept that, in theory, it's endless. I think people have asked me what the target is. I think, tongue in cheek, I'd like to say 20,000. I think that is achievable. but I think it's hard work. But the kind of the positive outlook of that is we're sitting here in March. We're still 4 to 6 weeks from the start of the season, and we've got 450 sign-ups already. So we're still a little way ahead. But as the season kicks off, more and more people do get involved as they start to see bat stickers from opposing players and their own teammates. So I'm expecting that we will pass the sign-up number from last year. Whether the fundraising effort gets to kind of my own target, I don't know. But I'm grateful as to whatever we can raise. But I think the big thing that it has done is it's kind of opened doors to speak to like-minded people across the board, whether it be people like yourself and Chris, and just generally show how good the cricket community is, really, especially on social media.
So how are you raising money then? I mean, it's all very well saying get clubs involved, do all this, that, and the other. How does the money get raised?
So club cricketers sign up individually as their own player, and at the start of the season, they're effectively committing to making a donation to the charity at the end of the year via a Just Giving page. The donation is worked out based on their performances, so it's 5p per run and 50p per wicket. So hopefully by the end of the season, the gun players, the players that score thousands of runs and taking dozens and dozens of wickets end up with a large donation. But your man in the street club cricketer that maybe scores a couple of hundred runs, takes a few wickets, gets a donation that's probably more reasonable. We never wanted it to be something that people felt they were committing to something they couldn't afford. But by the quantities of players involved, that's kind of allowed it to accumulate to the level it has, I suppose.
And how are we going to raise money on the 29th of May then? How are we going to get people involved in that to raise money for the Cricket Coffee Cup? I
suppose it's just a case of spreading the awareness on the day, showing that people are that this is something that they can do to support AR UK during the season as well as on the day, I suppose. I think the intricacies of the fundraising effort specifically on the day, that would be Chris's area more than mine. But I'm looking forward to kind of meeting some people. Hopefully some of the people that they'll be playing on both sides may even be signed up as well. So.
Well, if Chris ever comes back onto this podcast, we'll find out what his hopes and fears are for this, though. But the money you raise goes to which charity, and have you been told how that's been used? Are they happy that it's been raised? I would imagine so.
Yeah, very, very much so. It specifically goes to Alzheimer's Research UK. We do that for a Just Giving page, which allows kind of me to withdraw myself from responsibility of holding any money, which in these sort of things is always crucial. But again, I think we've had I've been working alongside AR UK since the very, very start with the team there, and they can't speak highly enough of the work that we're doing and the impact it's going to have to the wider cause, I suppose.
Well, fantastic work, Jake. Really is brilliant stuff. And I think Chris is back, and I think Chris can hear me now. We'll find out if he can actually speak in a second. But Chris, No Boundaries Cricket Club, we've been talking to Jake there about the Alzheimer's side of things, raising the money, Runs4Research, and the aims and hopes for Runs4Research. But obviously the Cricket Coffee Cup on the 29th of May is our way of kind of getting involved in this, isn't it?
It is. Hopefully, I'm back now and you can hear me. I'm not quite sure how much you went into it, but one thing I've noticed or been aware of since we started doing the No Boundaries thing is just how many people are combining a passion for cricket with a very strong desire to do good for a specific cause. And with the history of what's going on or the background of what's going on in cricket at the moment, that's quite refreshing and rewarding. And needs to be encouraged. Now, the Cricket Coffee Company came out with an initiative a while back and asked if they would be interested in having a branded, coffee, with 18%, up to 18% of the proceeds going towards charities. So we signed up for that, as have many others. Some charity clubs, other just regular clubs. So it's been a great initiative, and it's also brought quite a few of us together. And so a couple of their clubs are now affiliated clubs with ourselves. So we came up with this sort of little play on words that maybe we should try and get an annual Cricket Coffee Cup game going. And a longer term sort of vision is that maybe it could even be a weekend festival of cricket with all of their affiliated clubs, playing, promoting their own particular coffee, have a bit of a coffee session and stuff like that. But for the first year, we're going to play them, and we've invited any other players from other clubs that they work with to play with us, rather like the Barbarians. We'll happily be a mixed team. Now, because it's up in your neck of the woods, and because you're an ambassador, James, and your history and passion for helping Alzheimer's Society, we wanted to make it related to the Alzheimer's. I'd come across Jake on Twitter, as I think 90% of my life seems to be revolved around meeting people on Twitter. And we'd started talking, and I'd said that I would wear one of their bands this year, to Runs4Research bands. I don't know if you touched on that earlier. I see you've got some on. Just to help keep awareness, because a lot of it is just getting people talking, getting people asking a question. And Jake said that would be great, and then Jake said he'd like to play in the game. So that's great. He's even gone out, and he's not wearing it today, but he's gone out and bought the kit. So he's a fully signed up disciple, and hopefully he'll play more for us, and I'll play for other games for other teams as well. So on the day, we're just going to try and have some fun, make people aware of Alzheimer's. As with a lot of things, not be afraid to talk about it. We have it in our family. My father-in-law died from Alzheimer's 15 years ago. My mother-in-law's got vascular dementia. My mum's got early onset Alzheimer's. I don't think we should be too surprised by it, because they're all living a bit longer, and we probably had it in the past, but it wasn't diagnosed and it wasn't talked about, and we didn't quite know what to do with it. And I don't know what your view is, Jake, but more and more, I think if we can find ways of helping people stay in the home rather than care homes, and that will require an education and support and all that.
Oh, he's gone again. He's gone again. We had him for a little bit, but he's gone again. We're just getting onto that education stuff, Jake. It's my grandma. I think people first noticed with her. She left she put a saucepan on the stove, and then went off to do something else, and basically nearly burnt the house down. And kind of forgetting stuff becomes dangerous, doesn't it? Keeping people inside their own home is not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, very, very much so. And I think it's quite ironic, as it's a story that I always remember, which is one day my dad, my granddad's son went to see him, and he was stood at the end of the road, and he was wearing bowling whites. He was when he retired from cricket, he was a bowler, and he was wearing his bowling whites. And when Dad asked him what he was doing, he said, "I'm going to play cricket. I'm good. I know I can't field. I'm not going to bowl, but I'm going to bat number 11, but they want me to play." And obviously at that stage, he was still living in his own home, and it was very much something's not quite right here. Various other instances, but that's one that it shouldn't, but it will always make me laugh and smile at least, because it's cricket related, and ultimately probably was a factor in diagnosis to a certain extent.
Yeah. Chris, you back with us?
I'm back, yeah, I'm back. I don't know if it's my end or your end. I keep having this lovely lady singing a song to me, so I know that I can hear things, but then I can't hear your dulcet tones.
Unfortunately, there's no lovely lady in my flat. We're talking about you started to talk about keeping people inside their own homes and stuff, and how we can actually maybe move Alzheimer's. Actually look after the people, and then and it's not the easiest thing in the world. But I'm kind of relaying a story about my grandma nearly burning the place down by keeping a pan on the stove too long because she'd forgotten it was there and stuff like that. Keeping people at home is not easy.
It's not, but I think with one of my old sort of work-related hats on it, with the technology and options that are around now, it is easier and more practical. We have a number of Ring doorbells in service around various family as well, so we can see when the carers are coming in and out. We can actually see if anybody goes wandering at night. You've got to be careful with webcams that they're not intruding on people, but you can put them in unobtrusive areas. And my parents, we've got a little signal in terms of if curtains being opened in the morning, I know they're up. If it isn't. So the stuff like that, the WhatsApp groups, the Zooms, the ways of keeping in touch. And I also think that there's more scope to try and be creative in terms of matching up people that are young and entering the caring profession and want homes with the spare facilities and bedrooms and things that are in some of these older people's houses. So I think we can be creative. I'm not sure that we're here to solve all society's problems and all the political issues that go around that. But once we start getting people talking about community meals, cricket clubs, you see, I think could be a great part in that. They can offer community services. They can offer community meals. They can have outreach. The players can just get together and adopt a granny, adopt an uncle, adopt a granddad. Just to keep an eye on them. I heard you saying, Jake, about your granddad being passionate about cricket. Well, just having days where you bring some of these guys and girls along to watch. And that we talk about cricket needing to be more community based. Well, that's an absolutely prime way of doing it. Linking to what we're doing, have a coffee, come in and have a coffee. Have a coffee morning for people. Have a community meal once a month, right? Just engage with everybody, because we all saw during lockdown and various other things. And we've seen them in all the cops and robbers type programs. The older generation just left alone on their own, sort of like put to one side, like an old pair of cricket shoes that you're never going to wear again. But there's life in them, and somebody, and I just feel that it's a great opportunity for cricket to actually get more involved in community and in society and help. And I know I go on about it, but I'm passionate about this.
I think, Chris, as well. I've seen there's been some lovely viral videos that have gone viral on social media of people with dementia who get taken to a football match or taken to a sporting event, and you can see they're not quite totally sure where they are, but they know that they can recognise a song that's being sung. They can feel the vibe of being in the crowd, because one of the things that my experience of Alzheimer's is that people can't remember what happened yesterday, but they can remember what happened when they were 20 or 8 or something like that. And sport is such a constant through people's lives. They can pick up on being in a good place, Jake, can't they? And sport matters, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's exactly as you said there. I think you take people to a familiar setting, and even talking to Grandad, even in the latter years, he can still recall cricket matches from decades and decades and decades ago, whether that be his own, whether that be my dad's, whether that be mine. But he won't remember who you are sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a mind-boggling condition, I suppose.
It's heartbreaking as well, isn't it? When you got somebody you really love, like your granddad, my grandma, and they don't recognise you and they don't know who you are. That's why that little moment where my grandma just looked at me and said, "James," meant so much to me, because she kind of snapped out of it just for a second. But generally speaking, they've got no idea what's going on, have they? And it's just horrible.
Yeah, I think I wish it upon anybody.
Well, we're not experts, are we? And we can't generalise. But a phrase I quite often use in trying to explain things to my father is that it's just like every now and again, just that it gets switched off. My mum just seems to get switched off. Yeah, and there's no point saying anything at that point, right? Because there's just nothing there. But then in her own world, she'll get switched on again, and you're right. She might start talking about coherently about what she did years ago, right? Places they know and people that they go to. But she can't remember what she's had for lunch. But it's like living in a foggy world with a shaft of brilliant sunshine every now and again. And we take that shaft of sunshine for granted, but actually it's really special. It's really quite special, when those happen. And I would just dread missing those because they happened in a nursing home when I wasn't there. And that's a personal opinion and a personal view. And everybody's situation is different, and I don't want to come over preaching. I'm not into that. But I think if we can just increase awareness and increase people's ability to think about how they can maybe address this and raise some funds and have a bit of fun. And as I said, what we're doing with No Boundaries is we're not trying to solve the world's problems. We're just trying to enable people to play a little part, because if lots of people play a little part, tomorrow will be better than today. And if every day is better than the day before, we'll, despite all the other stuff that's happening, we might just build something.
I've got the No Boundaries Cricket Club website open here on my phone, and well, firstly, there's 2 T's in Buttler, Chris. When you write my name, there's 2 T's in Buttler. Remember that, please. But the the other thing is that the venue for this match on the 29th of May is the Spen Victoria Cricket Bowls and Athletic Club. Is that still the case?
That's correct. Yeah, an affiliated club. Sorry.
And if anybody wants to get involved on the day, whether that's making a donation, wants to get involved with No Boundaries Cricket Club, wants to get involved with Runs4Research, wants to actually make a donation, wants to come along and actually play a part on the day, how do people how do people do that?
Well, I think the logical way is either direct. Well, most people watching this will be on Twitter, so they can reach out to Jake or myself, or Twitter, or use at Spen. I won't drag you into it, because I know you're a little bit busier than most of us at the moment. I'll just ask me. I mean, if people want to play, we'll accommodate them. I mean, we're being very relaxed about these games. If we've got 14 people that want to play, we'll find a way for 14 people to play. If a game finishes in 10 overs, we'll play the other 30. They're all friendly games, and they're all about trying to give people of mixed ability or confidence. Because there's some very good cricketers out there who've lost their confidence because they haven't played for years. Just trying to get them to pick up a bat and ball, because from a No Boundaries perspective, we want people to just pick up a bat and ball and go out on the field and have some fun, right? And then they can look around and see where they go with that journey after that. Similarly, if somebody wants to score, somebody wants to come and video it, somebody wants to come and write about it, somebody wants to come and photograph it, any umpires, it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity for people that are looking to get involved in cricket to come and trial it in a very safe, friendly, and hopefully fun environment. So the best way, I think, is just contact myself directly, or anything to do with Runs4Research, obviously Jake.
I think from the Cricket Badger podcast point of view, there's definitely a podcast in this. There can be an outside broadcast from the Cricket Badger podcast to come along and cover the day and talk to a few people involved in that. As far as Runs4Research is concerned, I mean, Chris has basically said get in touch with both of you guys. But if people want to get involved in Runs4Research, how do they do that, Jake?
So as Chris says, contacting us on social media always works. But we've got a website, www.runs4research.org.uk. All the information about the cause and how to get involved, including the all-important sign-up link, is on there. So for any players that wants to sign up, we also have a bat sticker available for any player that does get involved to help show their support kind of on the field. But again, any questions anybody's got, just drop us a message, socials, across the board, really.
And thanks for Cricket Coffee Co. as well for their involvement in this too. The Cricket Coffee Cup on the 29th of May. I like that, the Cricket Coffee Cup, but I'll be the Cricket Coffee mug because I'm not fit to play cricket at the moment. But I'll come along and umpire, Chris.
No, you're welcome to. I mean, like what we've done is we're trying to get a club coach, club umpires, club DJ, just people that. Cricket is still stuck upon a Saturday afternoon, white guys, middle-class guys, middle-aged guys, play cricket, 10 pints, go home, right? It's still stuck in that world for so many people. But now, if you're interested in numbers, you can, the statistician side of it, there's some superb work being done out there, and it opens up the game. It makes you realise that, we spoke to a couple of scorers, didn't we, a month or so ago?
Yeah.
That are coming and getting involved in it, and you can now sit in front of the TV and score a whole game, without feeling pressured or just getting disturbed or whatever. So it's just, cricket is so much broader than people know or give it credit for. Come and umpire. As I said, come and interview people, James. Just come and talk to people. Yeah.
As soon as that goes anywhere near your pads, Marshall, you're out. You're on your way somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to my season's average for No Boundaries. I think I've got a target on my back. But I just think that, come along. It would be great to do a podcast. We've talked about it. We could do some little video clips. just talk to people, because what I want is, I don't want me and you, James, talking about what we do. I want Jake talking about what he does. I want the players talking about what they do. I want people that have come along and watched talking about what they do. Because people pretty much know what you and I think about things, James, whether it's Yorkshire, whether it's racism, whether it's, where cricket should be going. We've talked about that till the cows come home. But there's a lot of people out there that I think can just actually start to express an opinion and make some changes. And then they go back to school or work on a Tuesday and go, do you know what? I actually went to some cricket on Monday and it was fun. Yeah, and the people there were nice. Yeah, and they included me. Right, and it just felt comfortable. Well, we've won. If we get one person saying that on the 30th, we've won.
Absolutely, indeed. And looking forward to that. Then that's what you said, 29th, isn't it? 29th of May.
Yeah, I was making the point, if somebody the following day goes and talks about it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, my mind's very, very simple, Chris. I can only think of one date at the same time. So 29th of May, the Cricket Coffee Cup, raising money for Alzheimer's, Runs4Research, Jake's charity there. Chris is heavily involved with the No Boundaries Cricket Club, of which I'm an ambassador, all tying cricket together to try and do some good for the game and good for a very, very good cause indeed, which means a lot to all three of us. From what we've said on this podcast so far. To finish with, let's go away from that, and let's talk about that Test match, New Zealand. Last ball drama. I mean, people talk to me about how Test match cricket is dead. It's all about T20 these days. But Jake, I mean, I'm sure if you didn't see the match, you've seen the scorecard. I mean, that is such a great advert for Test cricket. Kane Williamson diving across the crease on the final ball to win on the final ball against Sri Lanka. Both teams deserve a lot of credit, and Test cricket is alive and kicking.
100%. I think you talk Test cricket, and the man in the street says, "Well, it lasts 5 days, and at the end of the day, it might not have a result." But for it to be decided on the very last ball of that 5th day, it's just remarkable. I think, a great advert for Test cricket. I think even somebody, and as much as Williamson will get all the plaudits, I think Neil Wagner's contribution as well, being injured, and then having to come out there and do that for his country, is really a remarkable advert for Test cricket ultimately.
It's pretty special, Chris, wasn't it?
It was, and I think special because with Test cricket, you never quite know what you're going to get. With the white ball cricket, for all the good stuff, it can, in my mind, it has morphed into just another one of the same. And it's fine. It's absolutely superb for that. It's like, a nice bottle of wine compared to a really good quality bottle of wine. But with Test cricket, you don't quite know whether you're going to get Stokes heroics, or a 3-day whitewash, or a last ball victory. But you can see it building. Every session is a game within a game, right? And you can start seeing the chess pieces, and you can start doing the what ifs, and you've got the time to do that. And I'm a big fan of the white ball game, but the white ball game, you just have to sit there and absorb what's thrown at you because it all goes so quickly. Yeah. But with the Test matches, you can actually sit and you can see how it's going to evolve, and you can go, well, what if this? What if the others? And even then, you'd never have, who would have thought that it would have been a bye? Right, the last ball. Who would have thought that Kane Williamson, 121 runs, and let's not forget on No Boundaries, you've got a chance to win, and Kane Williams signed bat, which Jake has bought a team for. Who would have thought he just wouldn't get bat on ball? A guy with a bulging disc and a torn hamstring, which is you and I combined, James, could run 22 yards. Quickly.
Exactly. The only thing from a Yorkshire point of view is he was supposed to be coming along to play for Yorkshire in the summer, and that maybe is called into question a little bit, isn't it, with his injuries that he's suffering at the moment. But phenomenal advert for Test match cricket, and long may it live on. Just wish the crowds would come. They need to just get some way of taking the global money in the game and actually spreading it around the world a little bit to support Test cricket in other areas, because it's a fantastic sport. As you said, the way it kind of ebbs and flows, the way you can turn up to one match and it can be a 500 place 500 draw, and then the next match could be like we've seen today with New Zealand. And it's we've just had the Oscars last night, wasn't it? I've always said Test cricket is and red ball cricket is a feature film. Your T20 is like a TV advert. You can get some very funny ones, you can get some rubbish ones, but they are throwaway and they disappear and you forget them very quickly. Unless somebody hits 6 sixes in an over or something that's really memorable, a T20 disappears into your memory banks very, very quickly indeed. A very, very good Test cricket match is like a feature film. You've got the narrative going through 5 days. It's like The Godfather or Shawshank Redemption or a classic feature film where you get your peaks and troughs, you get the exciting bits, you get the slightly duller bits or the more chess-like bits, and then it gradually builds to a crescendo like it did today in the Sri Lanka-New Zealand game, and you get a result on day 5. It's just something very, very special about red ball cricket for me.
And I think it's the different approaches that the different countries are going to take. Obviously, England with Bazball, all out attack, good vibes only. The only things that they do are positive. But then you've still got New Zealand who are going to play their style of Test cricket, and we obviously saw in the England series that's the way they chose to do it. But ultimately, that fifth testing, that second test in Wellington, all 5 days were different, but all equally enthralling. And ultimately, we could not have that the result would have gone in that direction either.
I just got three quickies here. I think the thing, Jake, there that you struck there is that countries are going to play to their strengths. See, all of a sudden, since we're playing Bazball, we've got a depth of talent and stuff available. But let's not forget that for 6 years we struggled to find Test openers.
Yeah.
So we've kind of there's an inevitability that we have to play that way because that's where our strengths are. I like your film analogy, James, but I think as a minimum they should always be a trilogy. Yes. I don't think that they should ever be an even number, and they certainly shouldn't be one. But I think as a minimum tests need to be 3 because otherwise you're not really learning about Test cricket and when you go on tour, getting your squad through the 3 games. So I think that's important. And I suppose I'm increasingly less concerned about the numbers in the stadium now because the discussion and stuff is so virulent on Twitter and social media and with YouTube clips and everything else. And I think that's something we did sort of maybe come out as a slight positive from COVID and the lockdown was that there is a distinct lack of atmosphere in the games when there aren't big crowds, but the games can go on and they can actually entertain and enthrall and engage people around the world now because of the social media and the clips and people sharing stuff and everything else. And at every level. I mean, we've also. I'm going to assume you have, Jake. I know James will have done, but the clip that's going around today about the guy running after the tennis ball and then the spin taking it one way and then finally getting down, throwing down. You could not. I mean, you could not have rehearsed that. You could not have predicted that. There was nothing that right up to the last minute. Another last-minute classic. There was nothing that would have given an indication that he was going to hit his own foot. No. And my timeline at one point on Twitter today had those 2 images of him doing that and Kane Williamson diving in on the same screen at the same time. And I thought, well, if you just want to summarise the breadth of cricket, that was it. It was just a great day all round at every level.
You mentioned the my film analogy and the fact it should be at least 3 tests. Equally, the narrative of a test match, the narrative of a series changes. Different personnel, people finding, people starting in bad form and then finding form, and vice versa. A series can be as dramatic in terms of narrative as well. We've seen plenty of classic series down the years too. And I totally agree. I think 3 match series minimum. In fact, I would personally play 3 match series for every single series, including the Ashes. Forget everything else. 3 match series, bang, bang, bang. That's your series. Let's move on. There's too much cricket at the moment in the world. 3 match series, I think, actually stops the 5 match series or sometimes the 6 match series dragging on forever. And actually, just get it, make everything a 3 match series, and actually treat every test playing nation with the respect of a 3 match series as well. Whether it's Ireland, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India, Australia, or whoever. 3 match series for me is what should happen all the way through.
I think you can then actually start to have a fair world test cricket tournament thing. I mean, you can't if some games are played with a pink ball and some are played with a red ball. You can't if some test series are played 1-offs or 2s or 5s. And I would also like to bring back what they used to have, is that the touring team go and play some of the counties as warm-ups. If you want to get the game out into the around the countries, then people turning up, to watch the Australian team at Cheltenham or at Worcester or at Leicester, and it would just put money into broader money into the game as well. If instead of having like the 5 tests, if they had 3 tests and 4 proper warm-up games, north, south, east, west, and that would bring people into there and they would see them. And I think that we're too. I'm going off on one now. We're too quick to discard the past as being the past, and there are some good things that can be taken from the past and modified and used today to address some of today's issues. But we just seem to be steaming ahead. We've left that behind. Move on. We've left that behind. And the amount of times people say to me, "Oh, well, that's the way it is now. Accept it." Why? Why do I have to accept something that patently isn't better or isn't working?
Totally agree. Anyway, 29th of May, the Cricket Coffee Cup. Support Cricket Coffee. It's cricketcoffeeco.com is the website to go and buy your coffee. Quote Badger, you get yourself 10% off as well. I mean, it's a win-win. So support Cricket Coffee Co. Thank you to manscaped.com as well for their support of the Cricket Badger podcast. If you quote Badger on there, you get 20% off and free shipping. Just watching the Cricket Badger podcast, it pays for life. And Jake and Chris, thank you very much indeed, and the cat, for being our guests on the Cricket Badger podcast today. Did badgers get on with cats, Chris? Generally speaking, do badgers get on with cats? You've got your cat on your knee there, like Goldfinger or whatever his name was. Oh, he's gone. We've lost Chris. Finally, we lost him. It doesn't matter now because we're saying goodbye. Chris, thank you. Jake, thank you. I will hopefully see you on the 29th of May, Jake. And enjoy Cheltenham tomorrow, because I know you're off to Cheltenham tomorrow. Hopefully your bets land. And we will see you again on the Cricket Badger podcast very soon indeed. I'm going to leave us, actually, with a Manscaped advert. Our sponsors, manscaped.com. See you next time.
Feel the difference with the superior full grooming trimmer by Manscaped. It's waterproof to use in the shower, features skin-safe technology to help reduce cuts, equipped with an LED light for those hard-to-see areas, and has long-lasting wireless charging. Order online at manscaped.com.